ESPN News, 250 plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM dial nearest you. Plus, obviously, ESPN Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 80. Also, ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up, as always, is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Indeed, used by over 3 million businesses for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. You saw it last night. You saw that show that James Harden put on display. James Harden, unquestionably the league leader right now for league MVP honors. Unquestionably one of the greatest scorers of this generation. Unquestionably the greatest scorer in the game of basketball today. Showed up at the Mecca last night, Madison Square Garden, the home turf of the New York Knicks, and showed out the way Kobe Bryant once did a few years ago. James Harden dropped 61. James Harden did what he wanted, when he wanted, how he wanted, to whoever he damn well pleased. And the Houston Rockets ended up escaping with a 114-110 victory over the New York Knicks, the relatively hapless New York Knicks, at Madison Square Garden last night. As a result, the Houston Rockets are 27-20. They're doing what they have been doing. We have seen it. We have witnessed it. We marvel at it every single day. You're just running out of superlatives to say about this brother. James Harden, 17 of 38 from the field. That's nearly 45%. Only connected on 5 of 23 pointers. Attempted 23 pointers. Ultimately hit 22 of 25 free throws. So had 25 free throws. Had 15 rebounds. 4 assists. 5 steals. And the Houston Rockets were a plus 19 when James Harden was on the floor. And just for some of you out there that don't understand, see, you can appreciate a lot of things. What I appreciate most about James Harden is that he's an MVP, playing like an MVP. He wasn't some one-year trick pony, some one-year wonder who suddenly disappeared and fell off the map. He's reminding you why he was the league MVP last year. He's also keeping the Houston Rockets relevant at the present moment, their 5th seed in the Western Conference playoff picture. But to watch this guy perform, to watch the kind of show that he puts on display, it's just something to marvel at. I'll tell you right now. I'm just going to read from this article. You can look at it on ESPN.com. The must-see numbers from James Harden's incredible hot streak. That's the headline for this article. Okay? We haven't seen a scoring streak like this since the 1960s. He had 36 points in the first half, extending his string of 30-point games long before halftime. I'm going to go on. It's the 5th time that Harden has scored at least 35 points and a half in his career. The only player with more such halves over the past 20 years is Kobe Bryant. Last night's 61-point effort was a career high, 61. It tied Kobe Bryant for the most by a visiting player at the current version of Madison Square Garden. Ladies and gentlemen, that means it was more than Michael Jordan scored at Madison Square Garden. Remember when he came back out of retirement and dropped a double nickel on the New York Knicks? I was there. It was a sensational performance. The Garden, the modern-day version of Madison Square Garden, opened up in 1968. The 2 top scorers in Madison Square Garden history for a visiting player was Kobe Bryant and James Harden. Fifth player in NBA history to record multiple 60-point games, joining Elgin Baylor, who had 3, Michael Jordan, who had 4, Kobe Bryant, who had 6, and Wilt Chamberlain, who had 32. Harden also tied Rick Barry with his 14th career 50-point game. Only Baylor, 17, Bryant, 25, Jordan, 31, and Wilt Chamberlain with 118 had more 50-point games. The 61-point game last night gave Harden 21 consecutive games with at least 30 points. passing Wilt Chamberlain for the fourth longest streak in NBA history. Still trails 3 different Chamberlain streaks, including a record-setting 65-game run Chamberlain put up in 1961-62, the season he averaged 50.4 points per game. Wednesday night, last night, was the 5th consecutive game in which all of his points came without the benefit of an assist. So James Harden has scored 261 points without an assist to assist him in scoring those points, which means he scored it on his own, which means basically Mike D'Antoni is giving him the ball and saying, just do you. That's what's going on here. He's recorded games of 57, 58, and 61 points. No other player in the past 20 years has scored more than 53 points without the benefit of an assist. He's averaging 36.3 points per game this season and 45 in the month of January. Ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing to talk about here. James Harden is on a run to capture a second consecutive league MVP honors. He is nothing short of sensational offensively. He can put the ball on the floor. He's got a nasty handle. He's got a mid-range game. He's got a long-range game. He can pull up from 30. He can pull up from 20 or 15. Oh, by the way, he can get to the free throw line anytime he wants to because he's a magician, a master at drawing fouls, evidenced by the 25 free throws he ended up taking last night. He's that gifted. Now, what does all of that amount to? My response would be certainly nothing more than last year. Could the Houston Rockets end up going to the Western Conference Finals? Sure. Would they win? Hell no. They'd be Golden State. You cancel that. Because in case no one has noticed, Steph Curry's averaging nearly 30, 48% shooting from the field, 44% shooting from three-point range. Oh, by the way, did you see that Klay Thompson's shooting slump is over? Oh, by the way, did you notice that when Steph Curry or Klay Thompson is quietly doing something, or rather making noise, doing a whole bunch, some dude by the name of Kevin Durant just quietly strolls along, minding his good old business, and he's dropping 27. Really, religiously. I mean, you just can't make this up. When you look at Kevin Durant and what he's bringing to the table, I'm telling you right now, you got to marvel at it. I don't know what y'all been watching, but I'm telling you something right now. I'm looking at Kevin Durant and some of these numbers, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, just quietly. This is Kevin Durant. 29, 24, 22, 28, 27, 30, 24. This is what he's been doing. Just quietly going about the business of minding his own business and being incredibly efficient at what he does. 90% from the free throw line, 51% from the field, 38% from three-point range. That's Kevin Durant. Averaging 28, 7, and 6 this year. This is why Klay Thompson's exploded. This is why Steph Curry's exploding. Kevin Durant quietly, I'm averaging 28, 7, and 6. You just can't make this up. I don't give a damn what James Harden is doing. One-on-one basketball with James Harden dancing on everybody and destroying people is not going to beat the Golden State Warriors. It will not happen. It will not happen. But having said that, that's not even my biggest concern. I have a bigger concern. And the bigger concern is that of the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James is scheduled to miss his 15th game coming up. This would suffice as the most significant injury in the career of LeBron James. At some point in time, he's going to come back. At some point in time, the Lakers are going to be a better basketball team because he is back. They're going to make the playoffs. They're not going to miss the playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. There's no need to worry about that. But here's where things get very, very interesting. If you are LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers, hasn't the time arrived where you should be worried about what talent you can get to join LeBron James in L.A.? LeBron James has faith in Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka. LeBron James is aware of what needs to be done. We get all of that. The flip side to it is that if you're a marquee free agent As beautiful as the Southern California sunshine is, and the palm trees, and Rodeo Drive, and the Beverly Wilshire, and Venice Beach, and Palisades Parkway, and LA Live, the list goes on and on. As nice as all of that is, how attractive are the Los Angeles Lakers to you, Anthony Davis, to a Kawhi Leonard, to a Kevin Durant, to a Kyrie Irving, etc.? How attractive are the Los Angeles Lakers if the health of LeBron James suddenly becomes a huge question mark? Now, if there's anybody that I have faith in to recover, it's LeBron James. No matter what we want to marvel at, what we should marvel at most is the man's willingness to take care of himself, to never cheat you with effort, and to always take care of his body. But we can't ignore the fact that this is arguably the most, not even arguable, the most significant injury of LeBron James' career. And I don't know where we go from. I don't know what we take from that. But I don't believe it's a foregone conclusion that the marquee free agents out there are going to clamor to L.A. if LeBron doesn't show that he's healthy and ready to go. So you can sit him out and you can take all the necessary precautions, and I'm not going to knock that. But at some point in time, we need to see the king. We need to see King James. We need to see him back on the court. It's just that simple. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. As a side note, my condolences to the New York Knicks, who continue to find ways to lose games. And I guess that's the plan, because you want to position yourself to get the most ping pong balls, which would be Zion Williamson. And I get that part. I truly, truly do. But there's no guarantee that you'll get him, because those ping pong balls for the draft lottery. Having said all of that, I don't know what to make of these Knicks. I'm very worried. I'm worried about the Knicks' ability to get a marquee to join Kristaps Porzingis, who we haven't seen much of. I'm skeptical about whether or not the New York Knicks are going to land someone of substance to join their franchise. Because the truth of the matter is, there's nothing that attractive about them right now, if we're being honest. There's nothing that attractive about them right now. And with that being the reality, I'm kind of wondering, where the hell do they go from here? I'm kind of wondering about it. Because as I look at the Knicks right now, and the dollars that they have on their books, you got Kanter at $18.6 million. He wants out. He wants to be traded because he's tired of being benched. We got Tim Hardaway, who I think is worth his dollars. Tim Hardaway could play. He's making $17.3 million this year, $18.1 next year, and a player option at $18.9 in a couple of years. I think he's earned that. We wonder about Porzingis and whether or not he even wants to come back. You've got Kevin Knox, who started off slow but has been balling. But if you're the New York Knicks, what do you have to sell? What do you have to offer? And the reason why I asked that question is because, ladies and gentlemen, the Brooklyn Nets won their 5th game in a row last night, beating Orlando Magic. The Brooklyn Nets have been balling. Somebody better pay attention. Somebody better pay attention to the job Sean Marks and Kenny Atkinson and those boys are doing. You better pay attention. And oh, by the way, when you look at their books right now, they're expected to have over $60 million available in cap space. They're expected to have that. D'Angelo Russell is balling. Give the man his respect where it's due. L.A., how you feel about him being gone now in favor of Alonzo Ball? How do you feel about that? I don't feel good about it if I'm L.A. D'Angelo Russell is balling, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody better pay attention. Jared Allen, this shot blocking extraordinaire, means only making $2 million. And he's due to make 2.3 next year. Better ask somebody. They gave Spencer Dinwiddie some money, but guess what? It ain't going to blow away your cap. It's not going to prevent them from doing what they need to do. DeMar Carroll is at $15.4 million, but he's in the last year of his deal. I'm just looking at them right now. They bought out Kenneth Faried so he could go to Houston. Look, they got some money. And they got a young team that can play. With a coach that can coach. With an executive that knows how to run a basketball operations. And I got news for you. When you look at the tree of Popovich, because of the Budenholzers of the world that come from him. The Monty Williams of the world that comes from him. The Brett Browns in Philly that come from Greg Popovich. That's a hell of a lot better tree than Bill Belichick's in New England. I'm telling you right now. I mean, this stuff is impressive. The Brooklyn Nets have scared the hell out of me because I've been a lifelong Knicks fan, but I am fair. I've said it last week. I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to keep saying it as long as they keep proving it. I'm incredibly impressed with what I see the Brooklyn Nets doing. This is something special. Blew out Sacramento by 29 the other day. I was raving about them in Sacramento, and then they said, hold the horses. Don't put Sacramento in our class. Watch what we do against them, and blew them out. Somebody better pay attention to these Nets. And nobody should be paying attention to them more than the Knicks. Because if the Nets end up getting one of these marquee guys and the Knicks get no one, the Knicks are finished. If the Knicks don't get the #1 overall pick or #2 overall, where they're in position to draft a Zion Williamson or an R.J. Barrett, plus they don't get a marquee free agent this offseason, oh, my God. We got a problem. We got a problem. I'm just letting you know. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Let me transition to a different subject. Because I was a bit annoyed this morning, and I'm just going to share why. Derek Carr. Derek Carr is the starting quarterback for the Oakland Raiders. And he took the liberty of going on Twitter last night and going off about myself and my man Max Kellerman on First Take, which airs every weekday morning from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. We airs from noon to 2. On ESPN2, plus throughout the night. Airs on 7 to 9 a.m. Pacific. Max and I were on First Take. Max brought up something about David Carr. Said that it looked like he had quit. Those kind of things. Derek Carr obviously took offense to that. Derek Carr went on Golic and Wingo after his tweets last night. And here is Derek Carr on Golic and Wingo talking about Max Kellerman more so than me. Listen to this.
He questioned my desire and want to. This man has never talked to me in my entire life. This man has never worked out with me. He's never woke up early with me to study, to go and play hurt and all these kind of things. And so, you can say whatever you want about performance and all that. That's his job, and I understand that. But when you start talking about a man's character and want to and desire, that's just a different story. And I don't think there's anybody holding these guys accountable when they go off on those kind of tangents. And so I'm just someone that loves the truth. I got love for the guy, but at the same time, that doesn't mean you can't be held accountable when you are just completely wrong about someone's desire or want to. I love Oakland. I love our team, and I've never done anything but give the city my very best. He's more than welcome to come to the house. I got a spare bedroom he can come hang out in, and he can get this work in with me. I'm completely open to that. And then I think that would change his mind. And again, I ignore everything. Yeah, I ignore everything that anybody's ever said, good or bad. It doesn't bother me. But when you start talking about me as a man, that's stuff I'm going to have to explain to my kids if they ever Google search it. And, that's just stuff I don't want to deal with. And that's just stuff that ain't true. And so that's the only problem I had is that, you can get me to a certain point, but that was just a little too much.
That's what Derek Carr had to say after his tweets. I personally took issue with the tweets that he sent last night. I can understand anybody coming to the defense of their own manhood. I didn't think Max questioned that. I think he talked about what he saw and said that's how it looked to him. But nevertheless, I took issue with what Derek Carr had to say. he said to Dana White, president of the UFC, hey, how do I challenge a couple of these clowns on TV to a fight? I think we should start a business together where pro athletes can challenge some of these people to an octagon fight until they give us an answer. You don't know me. Stop lying. Then he goes on to say, it's because I blocked them both for talking trash about our team. Those two clowns don't know anything about this game. Would love to actually sit and break down film with these two on TV just to show their viewers how incompetent, lacking qualification they are about our game. That's what Derek Carr said. This was my response on First Take. Do we have that, Cat? Play what I said on First Take this morning, please.
I will meet up with Derek Carr anytime, any day, anywhere to discuss what his career has been. And since he said he loves facts, Derek Carr said he loves facts. Let me give them to you. Derek Carr ranked 27th of 33 quarterbacks in the National Football League this year. Yeah. 48.9 QBR. All right. Passer rating ranked 18th out of 33. In his 5 years in the National Football League, 4 have been losing seasons. He's had one. He broke his fibula with an MVP. And I recall both Max and myself acknowledging this dude is in line to win MVP before he went down with that broken fibula. We acknowledge that. But since that moment in time, you haven't been that damn impressive. Pick six, interceptions, underthrown balls, throwing balls in the ground, needing 8 yards for a first down, throwing for 3 yards, making questionable decisions, starting off the season 1-8. Those are facts. Now, according to Derek Carr, he should love me because I just gave facts.
I didn't stop there. I wanted to save the rest for this radio show. You see, it's not about Derek Carr. It's a bigger issue. Derek Carr is emblematic of that issue. First of all, you play in public. You're not playing in private. So everybody's there to watch your exploits or lack thereof. Number two, not only is that the truth and that's the case, but also it helped get you paid. When we were talking about Derek Carr as an MVP candidate, he had nothing to say. When we talked about him being worth the $25 million that he's getting paid per season, he didn't complain about that. He didn't say anything about that. My issue with Derek Carr, however, has nothing to do with him and his insults. It's the clownish part or whatever. When you say stuff like that, okay, fine. What you bringing up your kids for? So in other words, you're worried about your kids Google searching somebody questioning your character. But you call us clowns and challenge folks to a fight in the UFC for crying out loud because you don't like what was said about you. Why don't you grow the hell up? How about that? The fact of the matter is you're starting quarterback in the National Football League. Everything that's happened to the Raiders this season is not your fault. We understand it was a questionable offensive line. We understand that new things schematically may not necessarily have vibed with you initially the way you would have liked, that might have contributed to a 1-8 start. We understand that there's a potpourri of things that come into the equation and that it's not a one-man game. But the reality of the situation is you're being paid like somebody who can overcome those things. You're being paid like somebody whose talent is so elite that you're worth getting rid of Khalil Mack. You're worth getting rid of Amari Cooper. You're worth this franchise building around you. But you haven't gotten it done. 5 years in the National Football League, you've had one winning season. Period. Those are the facts. Now, you got guys that'll come out and they'll sit up there, love to take you down. You don't know anything about football. We know what we need to know. We can sit up there with facts to stare you in the face. You'd still deny it. We can sit up there and say, you know what, you ain't got an offensive line. Or you got receivers that can't catch. Or you got running backs that can't run. You deny that because you don't want to call out your teammates. Oh, your coach can't coach. I'm not saying that about John Gruden because I know he can coach. But we could say something like that. You still wouldn't admit it if it were true because that would be calling out one of the guys you go to war with, supposedly. So you're not going to be honest about it anyway. And not only that, it's amazing how you talk about us. I guess it's because we win. I guess it's because we get ratings. I guess it's because we resonate. That's why you would talk about us. But in the end, what it comes down to is that you're a bit too sensitive for a quarterback in the National Football League. And if you're going to be sensitive to the point where you're going to sit up there and talk about protecting your kids from Googling stuff about you where your reputation could be impugned, how come you didn't think about Max's kids? How come you think about mine? When you call clowns. And you sat up there and challenged us to a fight. And by the way, if you're a big boy and you big, bold, and bad, how come you didn't try some UFC fighter to a fight? How about the NFL analyst who played football who called you out? Because if it's the NFL network, it's Fox, it's CBS, it's NBC, it's the ESPN. I can't recall a damn network or a piece of personnel on any of those networks that has something nice to say about the Oakland Raiders this season. And last time I checked, most of the heat was coming in the direction of John Gruden. So all of these things are things to consider. And all of these things are things to wonder about. But in the end, here's what it comes down to. Derek Carr, do your damn job. Your job is to win, period. That's why you get paid the big bucks. In my chosen profession, I'm winning. I'm winning. Are you? Did you do your job? Did you? I don't recall that. Not in recent memory. Derek Carr can play. Derek Carr is no scrub. Derek Carr got paid because Derek Carr could play, and he went 12-3 in over 15 games before breaking his fibula. That's the only good year that Derek Carr has had in the National Football League, period. Win some damn games before you start talking about somebody. Because I ain't going nowhere. But you know something? Neither is a whole bunch of NFL folks who talked about you. You didn't mention them. You didn't call them clowns. And we quoted them when talking about you. But you left them out. I wonder why that is. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. That was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage in America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Peloton is a game changer. Here's the part that's really gotten to me about these subjects, getting into it with these players. You know, you got the Washington Post, Chicago Tribune, other outlets, social media pages, talking about Stephen A. getting into it with athletes. You know what? You know what pisses me off about that? Folks act like I'm instigating it and I'm intentional. I'm doing my job. Mike Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser do PTI every day. Incredibly successful show. The standard for this network. Folks on Around the Horn do it every day. High Noon does it every day. Radio shows like Golick and Wingo do it every day. Everybody got their own style, no doubt. But don't tell me, as unique as I know I am, that I'm saying something so foreign to everybody else. Ladies and gentlemen, I give speeches several times a year. And I always use this line when I give them. I'm brilliant because I know I'm not. I learn from those who are and espouse the knowledge they've blessed me with. That is what I do. You think that I had an opinion about Derek Carr just because I was watching him? I read. I watch videos. I watch tapes. And then I talk to those who are experts at breaking it down. That's why I've been a journalist for 25 years. Now I understand that Derek Carr's real problem was with what Max Kellerman had to say about him. But that ain't what he said on Twitter. He said two clowns. He questioned qualifications. Let me teach you something, Derek Carr, about qualifications. I have more than you have. You have qualifications to play football. I have qualifications to talk about it. That's the qualifications I built through years and years of journalism. And you want to know how you ain't qualified? Talk about your teammates. Talk about the profession. Talk about your contemporaries in the profession. You won't do it. Why? Because you're a football player. And there's a code and a culture that comes with it. You can't espouse truth. Talk about you love truth. What truth have you told about the Oakland Raiders? What truth have you given us? Huh? What is it? By the way, the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. The power to save is in your hands. Snapshot from Progressive rewards your safe driving with discounts. Find out more at progressive.com. And the reason why I bring up a subject like that is because I'm going to get on you, public, the listeners, the viewers. I'm going to get on y'all because this is the kind of culture you created. You made a bunch of wusses out of professional athletes. Everybody's about their brand. You can't speak the truth. I mean, cats hold stuff against me. I sit up there and go like this. Damn, he had a bad night. He was absolutely god-awful. He shot 2 for 20 from the field. They mad years later. Even though they've admitted I was awful that night. Oh, but Stephen A., it's the way you say it. You know how many guys I've said that to me? It's the way you say that. You know what my response to them is? Yo, can I get paid? Can I get paid? Me talking the way that I talk naturally, not faking the funk, being as real and as authentic as I can possibly be. No shade, no nothing. Gonna give it to you straight filter, no matter what. That has evidently worked for me. It might not work for somebody else, but it's worked for me. Can I get paid? Can I earn a living? Can I do my job? You got cats here in social media and beyond. They want to make money by showing up to the party at the 11th hour and 59th minute, acting like they doing something and they deserve what I got. They didn't work in Archdale, North Carolina, living off tuna fish and Kool-Aid, working for free covering high school sports from 7 to midnight. They didn't do multiple internships. They didn't accumulate over 500 published clips before they ever had a job. They didn't start off as a high school reporter and became a backup college writer, to a college writer, to a backup NBA writer, to an NBA writer, to a general sports columnist on the NBA, to a general sports columnist, to a television commentator, to a television host, to a radio commentator, to a radio host. Where the hell were they when I was doing all of this? See, we want to talk. We want to talk like, oh, because you played. Nobody else has the license to say anything about you. Did you say that to Howard Cosell? Did you say that to Bob Costas? Did you say that to Brent Musburger? Did you say that to Brian Gumble? Did you say that to Jimmy the Greek? Did you say that to Irv Cross? Did you say it to Mike Tirico? Did you say it to a host of people who never played, but established a standard upon which all of us stand in this day and age? If it wasn't for those people talking about sports and helping to build it in the mind's eye of the American public and allowing the sport to grow so exponentially, Derek Carr, you getting $25 million a year? Ask Terry Bradshaw how much money he made. Ask Troy Aikman how much money he made. Ask Roger Staubach how much money he made. Ask him. Ask Joe Montana. Ask Steve Young. You made money that you make right now on the backs of those people who paved the way. How could it have happened if the sport didn't grow in popularity? And how does the sport grow in popularity if nobody's talking about it and talking about the athletes that perform in those respective sports? Derek Carr, you need to check yourself. And why do I sound so annoyed? I'm going to be very, very clear about why I sound so annoyed. He brought up his kids. That's why. So you can call folks clowns and threaten to fight them when they have children. But we're supposed to be worried about what we say about you because you have kids. When you're performing in front of millions and ain't getting the job done. As I said before, people writing about me getting into it with athletes. All I'm doing is my job. I was doing my job with Kevin Durant. I was doing my job with John Wall. I'm doing my job with Derek Carr. I didn't get personal. Can you say the same? Grown man, father of a few kids, without question, probably a lovely father, by the way, and a lovely family man. Just wondering. Just wondering. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. If you missed any of my opening segment, don't worry. Go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Podcast, brought to you by the new Capital One Saver Card. Earn 4. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Sean, real quick?
Hey, Stephen A. I just want to talk about two quick things about Derek Carr.
Yep.
First, I think he's a coward. I mean, he blocked you guys. He blocked all the First Take people. He blocked you guys on Twitter. And this morning he goes on Garlic and Wingo, and he talks about you guys, but he rejects to go on your show. I mean, and he also accuses you, he brings his kids into the conversation. I mean, Stephen A's for the kids. You always say that. You would never talk about him like that.
Well, listen, he was invited on First Take, and I didn't know anything about him blocking us because I don't reach out to Derek Carr. I never tried to tweet him before, so I don't know what to say about it, but go ahead.
And I also want to say, I want to shout out the boys in the Croft. You know, they produce the best athletes. But, yeah, and I think that, I mean, you're just doing your job, and he's criticizing you practically, but he's accusing you of criticizing him, but you're doing your job, and you're well more accomplished than him. I mean, you're a sports journalist for 25 years, you just said.
Right. Well, I appreciate it, man, but, you know, his main problem was with Max Kellerman, but we found that out on Golic and Wingo as opposed to when he was tweeting out. And my point is, you're going to bring up your kids, you know, trying to insulate yourself from criticism because you bring up your kids. You know, when the fact is that we didn't say anything about you personally. At least I know I didn't. So I just thought it was a complete overreaction on this part, and I thought it was pretty soft on this part too. No wonder why he's been preoccupied and hasn't been getting the job done lately. He's been thinking about the wrong things. But anyway, hour number 2 up next. Josina Anderson does a great job reporting on the NFL for us. She'll be up next with yours truly, starting off hour number 2 with Stephen A. News coming at you nationwide across the platform, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airways of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. So make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. And before I get to my next guest, got some breaking news going on right now. Victor Oladipo of the Indiana Pacers of the NBA, who obviously got hurt last night in a game against the Toronto Raptors, went down with 4:05 to play in the second quarter against Toronto. Apparently, they have, as predicted, he has ruptured a quad tendon in his right knee. He will undergo surgery at a date to be determined, but he will most definitely be out for the remainder of the season. So our prayers go out to him for a full recovery. Stay up, stay strong, Victor. Great, great player. Really, really showing what he's capable of. And the Indiana Pacers with Nate McMillan should be the leading candidate. Him and Budenholzer are leading candidates for Coach of the Year honors with the job Nate McMillan has done in Indiana with 32-15 record. Just absolutely phenomenal. But anyway, I'll get back to all of that later. On the line with yours truly right now is a reporter. We hear a lot about the great ones like Adam Schefter, to be, for example. But this girl is something special in her own right. She does an outstanding job for ESPN, whether it's reporting, it's breaking stories, it's everything in between. Does a phenomenal job covering the NFL for us. The one and only Josina Anderson is on the line with yours truly right now. Josina, good afternoon. How are you? How's everything?
Hi, Steve. How are you? I appreciate that introduction.